Good evening, sir. I'm pleased to welcome you to my show. My name is Parth Sane, and this is Dr. Sidharth Shukla. He's a veteran from the Indian Armed Forces, and he's an expert in many of the telecommunication technologies that we see today, and has had some pivotal efforts in trying to get us there. तो सर आप बता सकते हो अपने बारे में थोड़ा सा मैं क्या ही बताऊँ आपके बारे में इंट्रोडक्शन इतना यू नो लाइक इस गोल्डन
Okay.
है कि आप ही
Thanks.
बताओ
Okay, thanks, Parth, for inviting me here. It's my pleasure to be part of your YouTube channel. I had around 24 years of expertise in designing and operating telecom and IT networks for the Indian Army, strategic and tactical networks. I also had the experience of being the joint advisor, quality of service at Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, and I was pivotal in designing the regulations for 5G in India when it came in 2022.
ओके दैट्स
Thereafter,
ग्रेट
I joined Airtel as Bharti Airtel as head of emerging tech, and I was handling all emerging technologies and satellite communication and other things. So yeah, I had a fair of other things, and recently, I took off and I've just written a book, Astral Matrix, where it deals with science and spirituality, how they are connected, and when we see
यस सर
Sanatan and spirituality, how it is totally scientific. So that has been my endeavor till now.
Right. And sir, maybe you can also tell us like going from the army to the private industry, like how was that transition for you? Like because that is like a difficult phase in the Forge's life when they have to find like a career after Forge. It's very different compared to what they're used to in their life.
It's different, but I did not find it quite, the transition quite different because I was in TRAI, which is again a civilian organization under Ministry of Telecom. So yes, get used to, you get accepting, maybe not very organized, but people are specialized in corporate also. And though the sense of that organization spirit is not there in the corporate, but yes, I had my you should say as an adventure to the corporate,
Yes.
which I found quite good, quite
Acha.
enriching.
I think that's very encouraging. You just talked about the 5G, right? So now then we have even 6G. There is a lot of discussion about what is the next generation networks, 5G, 6G, and we are talking about that. And there is so much
Okay,
that is
to
coming in
talk
the
about.
patent filings. So much, maybe Starlink will be part of that somehow. There will be some different spectrum and so many things are there. So maybe you can tell us about 5G, 6G in Vision 2030. How is that going?
Okay. In my tenure at TRA, as I told you, I had issued the regulations for 5G in India, and in my Airtel tenure, I was also the vice chair of the Bharat 6G Alliance, which is the you know different body in India to put in the various standardization efforts for 5G, including the TSDSI. If I tell you in short for our viewers, from 4G to 5G migration, basically, it was not only for enhanced speed. So there are three verticals of 5G. One is the enhanced mobile broadband experience. So in 4G, if you see the average, you get around 20, 30 Mbps. In 5G, suddenly you get 200, 300, and depends on the location, how close to you. If you're in an urban area, you may get around 6, 700 Mbps also. But that is one just vertex of that triangle. So there are three types of things which were coming in 5G. Why 5G was designed not only for increased broadband speed, because you won't understand the difference. If I say there's a 4G connection and 5G connection, the 5G connection may bring you in some milliseconds of video, but that is not perceivable. What was more important in 5G was getting IoT. So this protocol included Internet of Things or machine to machine communication. And the third was ultra reliable low latency services. Like if I'm a doctor in say India and in a rural place, or even in US, if I want to do a robotic surgery, I want that when I turn the jockey or whichever is moving that device, robotic device, it moves very quickly, very low latency, some milliseconds, and I can get a feedback to know how to do my corrections. So these were the two facets which have still not come in India. The use cases are still coming in, and the industry is slowly developing into it. Like if I say industry 4.0, industry 5.0, where they've also included the human interface. So I want, say, a car of Tata or Volkswagen, any company. We have done various proof of concepts for Bharti Airtel also, where you find that the robots are manufacturing the see automobile. In case the automobile has, after manufacturing, in case there is some issue, so everything is connected on 5G, the robotic arms, the IoT, and in the central AI engine, you can make changes in the design if there are faults. So there are so many use cases like smart highways, smart schools, medical hospitals. So there are so many use cases where machine-to-machine communication may be required. That is where 5G brings in. The second phase of 5G is still coming. And if I say what is coming next is 5G Advanced, wherein you may have more, differentiated services. Like you're in a stadium. If you go into a stadium and suddenly switch on your mobile, you find that you don't get a signal because the towers are limited, the connectivity is limited, and everybody cannot stream a YouTube video or a high density video. So what can be done is you can differentiate these services, wherein the premium users can get latch onto the network first and be given a specific slice of data, which is uh, better than the others, and the rest, the general users, can be given a smaller slice. So all these features are happening in 5G. When we go for 6G, if we say what is happening in 6G, 6G in
So
2030
even if we go
vision.
before to 6G, right? I noticed like when I was in America for fifth
Hmm.
generation network, also you had like ultra wideband. Also you had like Verizon over there. They had the high frequency 5G also, which speeds were like fiber level speeds were there in a short distance area. So
Okay, so
even that which we have not got yet, perhaps in the public adoption. So maybe you can also tell about that. Maybe audience
okay,
not aware.
so what you're trying to say is millimeter 5G. So what happened
Yes.
is 5G was any of these technologies, 4G and 5G, are frequency independent. What happens is whenever you go for a higher frequency, you get higher speed. What you call speed is in technical terms is data rate. So higher
Correct.
the you go higher the frequency, higher you get the data rate. Now 5G was initially tried in the mid band or the 4G bands, and till 3.5 gigahertz is generally termed as a mid band. In mid band, you're getting such speeds, but 5G actual speeds, 1 gigabit per second, can only be experienced at millimeter wave, which is around 35 gigahertz. So in India and most of the world, people are trying to implement 5G in a very high frequency where you can get 1 gig data rate or speed for a normal device. But the problem in wireless communication is the mobile and the tower are not in line of sight. When we say line of sight, that means the rays which are coming in are not being directly intercepted or received by the handset. There are copies of the wave which are reflected, refracted, diffracted, and they come here, creating a
Mm-hmm.
constructive and destructive interference. I'm slightly going into
Mm-hmm.
technical, trying to tell you why this single. So then, if there is a handset, there are multiple waves which are coming from different directions reflected to my room, and because of this, some waves will be in phase, some will be out of phase. Hence, they'll create a constructive and destructive interference, which will cause fading. So suddenly you find that signal strength is going up and signal strength is going down. This is the greatest drawback of wireless communication. So in millimeter wave, what happens is due to absorption, and higher the frequency, higher it gets absorbed. So the distance is very less. Hence, for handsets, the trials have not been very encouraging. But yes, in US and even in India, we have trials for millimeter wave 5G for FWA. There's something called as fixed wireless access, where you find
Yes.
outside your home you have a where air fiber Geo has launched and Airtel has also launched. So you put a device which is talking to the tower inside, and inside you got a Wi-Fi router, and you can connect at high speeds. So in millimeter wave, yes, FWA is being done the trial.
I mean to say, sir, specifically, right? I had an experience where on my iPhone itself, I was able to experience these 1 gigabit speeds for the in a public rollout. Like for example, Verizon over there in America had this
Yes.
feature where I had experienced that personally myself, where I got incredible speeds. Let's say I was in the airport, right? So inside the
Hmm.
airport indoors, where they had put this in collaboration with the telecom operator, so that they can
Yes.
give that extra high speed capacity to this kind of users who are
Yes,
having
you,
these
you
devices.
can. You can at TRA, when I was the Joint Advisor
Mhm.
Quality of Service. So we did trials and we got around 600, 700 Mbps at specific locations. What happens in an indoor airport is you have indoor base stations called femto and pico cells, which radiate to certain areas. And if you are there in that area and your signal strength is good, you can get data rates near to 1 Gbps. But that is also in mid band, not in millimeter wave. Millimeter wave, there it is. You can say it is like Wi-Fi router. The ranges are quite less. For specific
Hmm.
applications, we can have millimeter wave, 5G, which is being experimented. Now in 6G,
Right.
what is going to happen is, now I'll just move to 6G. What we are expecting in 6G, 5G rolled out with immediately without the use cases being tried. And even
Hmm.
AI algorithms are now being ported over and over 5G protocol. So 6G
Hmm.
has
Hmm.
basically three or four things which will be taken ab initio before the protocol is designed. And when the protocol is designed, these will be put in. The AI will be organic. That means the AI protocols, something like traffic optimization protocols, energy efficiency protocols. The tower consumes around 60 to 70% of energy when it reduces such high power. So how to make the tower more energy efficient? We have to, reduce the carbon footprint. So what happens is all these AI algorithms, energy efficient algorithms, will be incorporated in 6G. That is the aim.
Hmm.
Second, you will have
Hmm.
higher frequency. We are at 3.5 gigahertz. That will be around 13 to 14 gigahertz. That is a golden, position of spectrum for 6G. And 6G is planned in such a way that it can operate with 5G the way 4G and 5G coexisted. And 6G, more things like sensing and environment sensing, humidity sensing. These sensing capabilities will also be built in 6G. So the roadmap for 6G is defined. By 2029, the standards will be finalized by 3GPP with ITU, and thereafter by 2030 it will be rolled on. But practically, since I was there in one of the leading telecom operators, the operators are still monetizing 5G. 5G is
Hmm.
around 97-98% districts in India. They don't want to change so early because 5G
Yes,
monetization is
because they
taking
have
time.
to recover their finances, whatever they have
Yes,
put inside
the
the.
return of
Uh,
investment on
yeah.
5G has been huge, and to recover that cost, they don't want to change the base station immediately. So 6G will be standardized soon, but it will only come into the markets, and Indian market will be the initial first markets by 2032-33. But before
Mhm.
6G, what is going to disrupt the Indian telecom ecosystem? And I've written various articles on that in Voice and Data magazines. I can share with you, or you can put it for your viewers in the comment section. There is something called as non-terrestrial networks. So what are
Right.
non-terrestrial networks exactly is, if you see the globe, first of all, 80-90% is water, right? Uh, so you can't put towers on water. So what they basically depend on the satellite
Not yet
communication.
anyway. Not yet
Huh?
anyway. You said we can't put towers on water. I'm saying not yet
Yeah,
anyway. At least we have not
but
figured out.
so because it is very difficult, let me tell you one thing. Continents like Australia, even Asia, the China and Russian areas,
Yes.
Canada, North America, Canada, US, mostly the population is on the coastline. And if you
Right.
see, the telecom deployment is largely on the coastline. In
Right.
the interiors, because the population is less, hence you find mostly the western countries in Australia, say Russia, China, the 5G deployment is mostly on the coastlines. The
Hmm.
hinterland is not you say connected by 5G or sparsely connected. So hence India that way is lucky because we got around 97 to 99% of districts connected with 5G or 4G. But
Absolutely, sir.
still, if you go,
Like I saw the map. It was incredible.
yeah, I can. So what I'm trying to say is, still, if you go to Uttarakhand and hills like in northeast, because of the high mountains, you find there's something called a screening effect. So the copies of the wave which are coming from tower may not reach you because you may be into a dead zone. I recently traveled myself in Himachal. I found there are stretches where 2-3 kilometers you don't have any connectivity. Though the signal strength is very low, it is fading, but you don't have a decent connectivity. Hence, even in country like India, and for Australia, Russia, and these countries, China, North America, South, you find that connectivity is a big issue. Terrestrial connectivity is a big issue,
Hmm.
and satellite alone cannot do it. Sorry, terrestrial
Hmm.
cellular towers alone cannot do it. So they depend on satellite. Further, the marine entire movement of ships, marine your commercial
Traffic.
ships, as well as our, yeah, as well as our defense naval ships, merchant navy, and both the defense navy, if you say, are dependent totally on satellite communication. Now what is going to happen before 6G comes? Here both the worlds, the terrestrial world, the cellular world, and the satellite world, are going to meet. This marriage is called as NTN, non-terrestrial networks. Wherein what
Correct, correct.
happens, you're on a ship, and of course you use your iPhone, you get, and the best thing about this new type of communication, it does not need a router. Like what Starlink is coming with the connectivity is, you need one antenna which you need to open up wherever
Terminal.
you go in a car.
In
Yeah.
simple words, you
So
need a
it is,
small terminal.
yes, it's a user terminal. There are two things. One is the antenna, a second is the satellite modem. So what happens is satellite signals are converted into a baseband signal, and then you connect through a Wi-Fi router to your phone. But when I say an NTN connectivity, it means that I use my same handset. So iPhone 16 onwards, you can use the same handset and connect directly to the satellite. These are LEO
Yes,
satellites. So there are
yes.
various grades of satellites: low Earth orbit, period about Earth orbit, and say geosynchronous, which is
Yeah, just
35,000
like
kilometers.
T-Mobile is offering direct to cell connectivity for
Yes,
Starlink.
yes. Okay, now let me tell you, well, this is not something new. In
Yes.
90s, when we were near the northern, say, Siachen, those areas, we used to use satellite phones. And there were two
Correct.
such constellations like Iridium and Global Star, which use this same LEO satellites. But at
Hmm.
that time, cost of launching the satellite and running, so we had to buy the talk time. It was very costly. Defense, we could see defense officers, we are still used to satellite phones. Civilians is a very costly affair to get a satellite connectivity. But off
Even
late,
today, sir, it is there, but it is very expensive. Like some 300
yes,
rupees. Like it's very
per
expensive.
minute. Yeah, yes, yes.
Even if you
So
want to get like the cost of the phone itself is so high, like lakhs of rupees it is in costing. So
first
like,
of all,
and
this
that too
first the
BSN is
biggest.
offering.
So what you're saying is the biggest problem is Starlink when it launched in Brazil and South America. The biggest problem is the cost of that modem. The
Yes.
subscription cost is much lesser. The hardware cost for the user terminal is quite high. So in such satellites, so if I say satellite connectivity, let me put it two way. One is satellite broadband or satellite internet, which Starlink will be offering soon in India, and which has already started services in Ukraine. Even the Ukraine army has used it, and Brazil, they have
Mhm.
already launched it. But the problem there is you have to use a satellite terminal, the modem, which costs a good amount of money, 30, 40, $50. So the point is how to reduce the connectivity. When I say NTN, non-terrestrial networks, it will be used by a normal handset. Your normal handset can connect to the satellite. So the first thing is that. So I'm just giving here with what is coming in this by next year starting. Starlink will give you array antenna and a small satellite modem. You take the subscription, say whatever $20, $30 per month, and with that subscription you can connect to satellite internet anywhere in the world or anywhere in the country.
Mhm.
But the next step is that I don't need the satellite modem. I'll use my existing handset, iPhone 16 and
Just
now
like
on Samsung
this
23.
iPhone
Yeah,
17
yes,
Pro
yes.
Max is the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
16 onwards and S23 onwards, I think they all phones are capable with the satellite frequencies, which are LNC band. They're defined by ITU and 3GPP. I can use the same handset, and since the LEO satellites are closer to the Earth, like Starlink, they will have us. It's something like the tower has moved to the satellite. So my calls
Hmm.
can be switched to the satellite. So what happens is the end, without getting into technical details, if I'm traveling on a ship or I'm in a remote Himalayan mountain, I can use the same handset. It goes to the satellite, and satellites, say at 700, 800 kilometers, they have inter-satellite links. Through the inter-satellite
Right, right.
links, say if I'm in the Indian Ocean, I can get connected to a ground gateway in Mumbai, and through the
Yes,
ground
yes,
I can enter the Airtel or the Geo network. So I
yes,
may be
yes.
at Kolkata, you may be at somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. We can speak through our handsets, normal
Correct,
mobile phone.
correct, 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 correct.
So this
And
is
then
what.
one of the benefits is also for the SOS, right? Because I heard like Apple and others, they're offering some feature for sending emergency text messages through the satellite as per their
Yes.
features. So,
So initially, what is happening is initially these satellite. See, it is very easy to send a small text message, also to have a compressed voice, but to a video call the way we are doing it, may be because it consumes a lot of bandwidth and the satellite is also moving, your ship is also moving. So initially what they'll start services is a text message or a WhatsApp message or a compressed low quality satellite call. I don't know whether you've experienced, but in the army and forward areas we used to call the satellite phones had a very low quality. So normal telephone landline telephones work at 64 kbps, and a satellite compressed voice works at 8, so 1/8 of the bandwidth it uses. So you can get a compressed voice also. So what will start initially will be a text message or a small compressed JPG
Sir,
file.
even this emergency SOS text feature, right? This will be game
Yes,
changer
yes.
for a lot of people in so many places. Like when there is no cell service, if you're stuck in some remote place, you cannot get help. At least if you can call police or you can call somebody to help you if your car is broken down or something, then it will be amazing because not all the highways are patrolled. Not everywhere you have the connectivity available. So if government can introduce this, in the coming years, it will be great.
Okay, let me tell you, there are two types of NTN. When I say non-terrestrial networks, is first you understand that the base station or the cellular base station is on this satellite, right, on the satellite payload. Now there are two flavors to it. The first flavor is NTN NB-IoT, narrowband IoT, basically for IoT devices. So in such cases, like there is a ship. So what should I say? The pilot of that ship maybe sending some important metrics like its own GPS location, some alarms, statuses that ship all okay, a small, limited message that can be sent through this IoT devices. You don't need a handset also. So
Hmm.
what happens is NTN NB-IoT is already been launched. There are 3 4 operators. Satellite, Starlink will be doing it. What will happen is say there are there's a truck consignment or say army convoy moving from Chennai to northeast. So all through that highways, you may not find cellular towers. There will be dead zones also. So what
Exactly,
happens is if
exactly.
you have this IoT device, you can all you see what happens is it finds the strongest signal. If a tower is near you, it will connect to the tower. If the satellite, otherwise the tower is not there, it will get the satellite signal. So all the time you can track your devices and you can also have limited communication like SOS and emergency communications the way you have said. So first
Hmm.
flavor will come is NTN NB-IoT or for the IoT devices. And the next thing is NTN NR. NR means the new radio 5G or NTN 5G. So when NTN 5G comes, you'll have the full capability of a mobile handset. But initially,
Hmm.
NTN NB-IoT will come, which will also help you to transmit short messages from your mobile device also, because this is also
Hmm.
Internet of Things device, right?
Right, 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 right. And then, just sir, what about this feature with the SOS? Do you think that Indian public will get it maybe in next 4 5 years? Because particularly,
No, no.
I'm okay.
It may be
Because
in
I'm
few
I'm of the.
months,
Oh,
not in
okay,
years. That is what I'm trying to say. We've already got around 8 satellites which are already moving across India, across
okay,
Indian space. See, the problem which is coming is since I was in regulatory organization in India, which is the elite organization, we have to, it's a new thing for us, for any in all the countries. All the regulatory
right,
organizations are, first of all, you must have heard in the newspapers that there was a war between the telcos and the satellite companies, say Starlink and OneWeb, which give the services in India,
correct,
to
correct, correct, correct.
get the licenses not auction but administratively given. There are two things.
Yes,
Telco
yes, yes,
spectrum is
yes,
always auctioned and it is very costly in India. But
yes.
the
And
satellite
satellite is allocated.
is allocated because it is taken as an emergency service. Okay,
Correct,
so
correct,
the
correct.
the telcos did not want the satellites to come in because they are afraid when these satellite NTN type of networks will come in, which can you don't need a satellite modem, you can do with the same handset. They are worried about their business. So there is a lot of war going on between the telcos and the satellite satcos, if I say. So satcos and the
Mm-hmm.
telcos are but they don't realize they have to merge together to give a ubiquitous connectivity to the user, which is again a very important facet in 6G.
Yes, and so the interesting part is they've already had some commercial tie-ups that, for example, Starlink will be sold by Geo and Reliance within their
See, there
showrooms
are
and
two
stuff like that.
things. So when I told you that satellite broadband is already coming, so
Yes,
OneWeb and OneWeb is already tied with Airtel, and they've done trials with the army, and they're giving
yes,
it to the railways also. Satellite broadband will be there. Their telcos do not have much problem because you're not using the handset, you're using their modem, right?
yes,
So still they are worried about customer going because their
yes,
fiber business will be affected. Their broadband business will be affected. Both Geo
yes,
and Airtel have a broadband business. So their
yes,
broadband business will be affected by Starlink and OneWeb, as in when they
yes.
launch. So what the status, what I know from the ministry is the administrative license. It has been decided and ministers announced that there will be no,
Hmm.
auction and administrative licenses will be given. So once the administrative licenses are being given to them, thereafter, the regulations for the same are also being framed. In India, you can't operate without the TRAI and the Department of Telecom giving you the license and the regulations defined for
Correct,
it. So when 5G came,
correct,
like I
correct.
told you, I was part of I develop the regulations. You define what should be the quality of service, what should be the data rate, what should be the speed, which frequency, what are the procedures, what is the user rights. So all these things have to be defined. So they are waiting for it. Otherwise, the satellites are already on air. Once you get this go ahead from the ministry, your normal devices, the IoT devices, will be connected. And I have seen trials in
Correct.
Airtel and
Correct.
in the Ministry of the IoT over satellite. So it is doable. It is
Correct. So
months ahead.
so sir, we recently heard about a lot of news that perhaps in our neighboring countries, some of them have approved the Starlink for their purpose. So some of these modems or devices are leaking over to the border, and we are facing all these
Yes.
security issues because you know like they are getting kind of unfair advantage in this kind of situation, especially against, let's say, local police or somebody else who is not
Yes.
necessarily equipped with this directly. Maybe our elite organizations are there, like they are
So,
having the
so
resources to tackle
I
this.
You're perfectly right, bang on. The the target here. The issue is, I went to deliver a lecture on tactical NTS, how the defense forces will use these satellites, and there were officers coming from NTRO and ISRO and RAW. The problem is that, see, in telcos, what happened, if you are not aware, today we cannot put a tower right at the border. We put it, there is a 50 kilometers exclusion zone. Hence, our tower and their connectivity is an issue. So if you have to come to India, you have to take an Indian SIM. But what happens when the satellite is traveling the entire globe, right? So it has an orbit, it keeps moving. So there are no countries political divisions for in satellite. So if I take a modem, and if I'm in Pakistan, or if I'm a terrorist, or if I'm an anti-national element, there is always one satellite on top of me, and I just take my
Yes.
satellite modem, open up anywhere in Rajouri or Kashmir or Punj, and I'm always connected to my handlers there. So this is again a problem, which a challenge, which I say, which the ministry and the regulatory authorities have to see how to geofence the user. Like what happens in the telecom, you have different SIMs. If you are an anti-national or a rogue element, the IB sends it to Airtel and Jio that please block this SIM, right? Even in GLs, we
And
have
you can
mechanisms to block the SIM.
triangulate a person's position with the towers,
Yes,
but that is not necessarily
yes.
possible with the
No, it is
you know
possible also with the. It is also possible because in NTN
okay.
system, or this system, the geolocation is always given. The satellite finds the
Yes.
geolocation. That is not an issue.
Yes. Yes.
But we have to identify users when they are moving across borders. Like Europe, they have no
Hmm.
issues because they have all friendly countries in the European Union. But say for India, we've got left, we've got an adversary on our north, we've got an adversary. Now Bangladesh also an adversary. So how do we
Yes.
define that anybody moving from a adverse country, say Sri Lanka, Nepal, we may not object much, or we may have some monitoring issues. But for people moving from such areas, we have to somehow blank their network once they reach our soil. So those issues are
Right.
also being challenges, which the again NTR or RAW they have. So what happens is you keep tracking the satellite terminal and terminal, and know when it is crossing a boundary, and then you generate an alarm and you block its services into the next country till the countries these special organizations like NTRO and through the ministry, you give an application, and then only your equipment starts working here. Even today, if you have a device which is in US, you cannot come to India and start operating
Correct.
the
Correct.
starting, and they have told them not to allow any. So every satellite has a footprint. In the footprint which we are here, or in the area or that portion of the footprint, we have not allowed them to operate. Hence, any device, if you get it from US, it will not operate in India because of the
They have
government
disabled
regulation.
it basically.
Yes. So Starlink has been told not to take any signals originating from the Indian soil
Hmm. So, sir,
till the
like you
time the
mentioned,
license are not.
at the border, like it's very difficult for them. Even Starlink also, like if somebody is like less than 1 kilometer, 5 kilometer away from the border, if they are having nefarious intentions, then how is it that technically anybody can stop them? In fact, Starlink also might have some trouble finding the exact location, whether to geo block them or
So,
not. And
okay, you have seen a feature in your car called geofencing, wherein what
yes,
you can do is you can create a fence around your house and ensure if the car crosses that area, you get an alarm in your phone, right? In the same way, this geofencing can be done for any telecom or user or terminal. I can
okay,
program it in such a way whenever it is crossing a certain geographical area, my something called NOC, Network Operation Center, Like I was head of the network operations center for the army satellite communication. So in the knock, you'll get an alarm that this area is crossing, and you can create an automatic algorithm that it automatically its services are disabled. It will receive the signal,
Mm-hmm.
but it cannot create any calls. It cannot do any data transmission. So those
Mm-hmm.
procedures are already set in telecom, but they have to be implemented by the satellite operators. That's why the government is not giving a license till the time they don't adhere to all these regulations. Once they adhere to all these regulations, then only new things which have come in, that the data centers should be in our own soil. We don't want the data centers to be out. So all these issues have to be resolved before the services start.
Right. And then, sir, like I've heard that on the 5G front of things, like on the border also, we are seeing that Chinese are installing 5G along the LAC and other places like that, where it is a challenge. I don't know how much of that is true or not, but, if that is the case, then, what is the right response, or like, how do we handle that?
Okay, what you're talking about is in the newspapers. It had come last year also that China, what it has done, it has laid optical fibers till its borders and installed 5G towers till its edge, or the edge of our country, or border of our country. So what happens if the connectivity of 5G is till your borders? You can use your 5G services for defense operations also.
Hmm.
Specifically for the army or in our country, we find that 5G is limited only to, even in northern areas, to the big cities and not to the small areas. And army
Hmm.
is generally deployed much ahead. Say if I go to talk of Kashmir, say after Baramulla, okay, Uri. So these are towns, but we operate beyond those towns, and there you may find that the cellular connectivity is not there. So
Hmm.
slowly, what government is doing is slowly in certain areas, if their defense has a requirement, and if so, there are certain funds by Department of Telecom, and if area of the army, or defense forces, they say that we require cellular connectivity here. So that is being provided on a
Hmm.
strategic basis as per
Hmm.
the requirements of the defense forces. But yes, across the border, we have not lit up 5G towers all over the across the border. So that is where. But yes, optical fiber. Now there is another thing we have to understand. Army does not depend on our civilian communication. Army has something like BSNL. We have a parallel defense communication network. Okay, so
Yeah,
that defense
essentially,
communication
like a
network,
private network, right? It's a private 5G or private cellular network.
it is army owned, and the fiber, everything is army laid and army owned. The project are done through the tenders, and finally we've got a fiber optic network to our last posts also. So fiber optic is
Hmm.
already laid, though they have advertised it is more like a psychological warfare. But
Hmm.
it's not that we are not connected. We are also connected on fiber. We've got satellite terminals. We've got dedicated satellite from ISRO to the defense forces. So we have always been connected on satellite and fiber. For cellular connectivity, we have our own 3G network in the northern areas of our country. We have not graduated to 5G, our own network. But what we've done recently, what I've heard is that Army is using Airtel and Jio's network for a private or VPN type cellular connectivity for the defense forces.
Right, right. They like there is a concept of private 5G networks where certain organizations can
Yes,
request telecom operators to slice
yes,
and cordon off like specific
yes. Slice
people,
the
or
core. In the core,
yes,
yeah, some slice of the network is given specifically to them, and the dedicated bandwidth is provided for such network. So
yes,
that
yes.
is
Like
being done.
I heard this is like similar to what is done on in America. They have this FirstNet network by AT&T.
Okay,
So you
okay.
might have heard about that. So they
So
use it for
yeah,
911.
so what is happening is in the lines of FirstNet, we had given a presentation to MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. They are planning a network called as PPDR, Public Protection and Disaster Relief. So it is on the lines of FirstNet that we should also have, like FirstNet was in 4G, now they have graduated to 5G. We should also have a 5G network pan India for the Home Ministry. Basically, if there's an earthquake in Delhi or disaster in Pune or Bombay, what happens is the network is always designed for 40 to 50% of the traffic load. Now, what happens if there's an earthquake or suddenly, God forbid, if something
Jam. You'll
happens?
have
First
a
thing you'll do
network
is,
jam and congestion.
so first thing you'll call you take away phone, call your near and dear ones. But the network is not designed for 100% of load. It is always defined for
Hmm.
40, 50 because of the cost of the telecom equipments. So in such a case, how to ensure that the network is created in such a way that the government officials and the paramilitary forces, the defense forces, the police forces, and the authorities which enforce law and order, they get the network first, and they have got a private network which doesn't affect the civilian traffic. Hence, this
Hmm.
PPDI is being created by Ministry of Home Affairs, and this is again an endeavor to ensure that we have a dedicated private network within the Indian telco ecosystem, which caters only to these government bodies, government institutions.
Hmm. Actually, I'm glad to hear that we have some initiative like that because
Yes, I have been part of
many of
various discussions, which I
huh,
cannot tell you the details, but yes, we are in a very advanced stage of implementing such networks within
whenever
India.
that comes out, sir, I'll be happy that we are making progress in that area. Like whenever government feels fit to announce, we will be definitely,
Yeah.
great in that area. And then, sir, we are also talking about this India's national quantum mission, right? So there is so many things that are going on in that, and also with the new fifth and sixth generation networks, already, if I understand this right, Geo has implemented. Or many, I think more than one network operator, including Geo, they have implemented these advanced encryption standards to protect against post quantum, you know. Like essentially quantum threats, that's what we call them. So how much of that are we doing, sir? Like and how much of that, as a normal person, should we be afraid about? Because the way that I look at encryption technology is that let's say that uh, the FIPS 203 or FIPS 204 standard, which is there for post quantum cryptography, they have mandated, like the US government has mandated that all computers must, all government computers in America must migrate to that standard by the end of this year or something like that. So they're almost already there. And that makes me think that what is it that they know that we don't know? Like as a first principle thinking, you want to see like what is it that somebody else knows that I don't know, or what is it that the adversary is having knowledge about that potentially that I don't have, or do they have a quantum computer that is at least capable of breaking weaker encryption that is they're not talking about, like. And I will say, like, a precedent for this is, like, if you see project MK Ultra, which was there so many years ago in the 70s, where the British cryptologists, they didn't announce for so many years that Enigma is broken. Only in the 70s that they announced that, oh, we have actually broken Enigma, when they declassified the files. So in my mind, like, I don't think we have that kind of a declassification system in India. At least, like, from what I know is abroad, may they have this declassification system. In India, it is like, nobody's asking questions, so you don't release if it's not needed. That is my understanding of how things are working. So how are we doing in this area? Like, is it something that average person
Okay.
needs to know
So I
about?
think first thing is, see, we have still that colonial mindset where we think, the West is doing great things and we are not. But things last 20, 30 years, things have changed drastically. Now, let me come to your question. So there, you have mixed many things together in your questions. There are two things. The threats are cyber. There's something called as cyber security, and cyber security is like, what happens is, I can have a algorithm. Say I'm talking about AES 128. So I've got an algorithm encryption of 128 bits. It will take time to crack, say maybe hours by a normal computer. And if I go to AES 256, then there is 512, AES 1024. So the number of bits I use to encrypt the payload of any traffic will make it so complex for the hacker to intercept it and again decrypt it. Are you understanding? So what is happening is, there is a cat and mouse game, that I increase the number of bits which I can do for encryption, because and the hacker also keeps using faster mechanisms to decrypt it. There are two things in quantum. I was also pivotal in getting quantum lab in the military college of our Indian Army. See, quantum has two aspects to it. One is quantum computing. The next one is quantum communication. So
Hmm.
let me talk about quantum computing. So, like I told you, you need very strong computers to break the code of, say, 1024 bits. Okay? Root bar 1024, you can imagine how many combinations you can have. If I have a quantum computer, then I can break that in minutes, which may take days by a
Hmm.
normal GPU, right?
Hmm.
Further, and you know how quantum computer does it, by Heisenberg uncertainty principle. What happens is, you can have multiple. It's not zero and one. So one location can take infinite or
Yeah.
many high, very high number of bits. So the location
Essentially,
of the
there are
electron or
qubits.
so we call
Qubits.
them as qubits because they are not
Yes.
one and zeros. There are, it may be not infinite, but very high numbers of states which it can take. Since
Yes.
a
Like
bit can
basically
take so many
probability.
states,
Yeah.
yes. So if since it can take so many states, the processing power improves, right? I don't need so many registers. With limited registers, I can have because each bit can take say 1024. I don't need 1024 registers. So one is that quantum computing part. Yes, quantum is going to help us to crack these encryption codes faster. That is one thing. And quantum computers have already been developed by many countries, and in India also it is going very strong. And we've got some quantum computers which are in the labs which are there for specific. Now these quantum computing will be only for specific application, right? Second is quantum communication. When I talk of quantum communication, you must have heard 3 4 years ago that China has done one trial where through the satellite it has sent a qubit which is
Hmm.
encrypted. See, the advantage of quantum communication is if I change if I see, what I do is I create twins of an electron or photon with the same spin and the same phase. And what I do is I keep one with me and send the other. Right? I can do various things like sensing. So there are various applications. The next application is if I code limited amount of data with these qubits, I encrypt them and send them. What used to happen is like man in the middle attack that you break into the network, read everything, and then again transmit to the user doesn't know. But in
Like
quantum
the
encryption,
replay. Essentially, replay attack.
yes. So what you do, you break into the network, read everything, and again let it transmit. The user doesn't know that you have gone in, open it, and again close it. But in
Hmm.
quantum, encryption, this cannot be done. You cannot create a qubit with the same phase,
Essentially.
right?
Essentially, it
So,
will
so,
not be the
so
same.
what
Like
happens
if
if
somebody tries to tamper the connection, then it will be
you will
instantly
come to
found out
know?
that it's
Yes.
tampered.
So what happens is if you generate some qubits and if I intercept, say in a man and middle attack, so what will happen is once I take it out, I cannot regenerate it
Hmm.
because since there are thousands of states, I cannot create the same state. So it is not possible. Hence, quantum
Correct. Correct.
encryption is you can say leak proof or it does not have any vulnerability. But the
Correct.
problem is if I use quantum encryption in every application of today, it is not possible. Why? Because I have to generate so much of quantum bits. See, generally what happens is very high secret, top secret codes. They are encrypted with quantum encryption, not a normal
So,
traffic. What I'm
so,
talking.
but now actually it is changing because, sir, like for example, even Google Chrome, all of our like applications, like it supports the encryption standard with
Yes,
X25519 with
X25. These are not quantum encryptions.
no, no, along with MLKEM 768. So there is a hybrid standard that they have formalized now.
So what is happening is, see, when I
Huh.
say quantum encryption, I have to send a qubit. The qubit transmission in the world has been very rare and very limited to trials of satellite or fiber. We do not have a quantum communication network as of now in the world, right?
Hmm.
So first we have to
I think we are
differentiate.
talking about post quantum cryptography and
Yes,
separately,
yes.
which is
So
the quantum
yes, so
communication.
I may use quantum computers to crack the existing cryptography, but post quantum cryptography is something which I'm talking about is quantum qubits, changing the phase.
Yes,
That is not doable.
yes, but
So that,
actually,
tell
yes.
me.
I was saying that, sir, with the traditional computer itself, we are able to use the X25519 and
Yes,
the
X25 is a standard.
MLKEM.
AES, yes, yes.
No,
So they are
along
standard.
with that, it's a hybrid. So MLKEM 768. So now Google
Yes,
has that.
yes.
So they have come up with that new hybridized form of the post quantum
So
cryptography.
it is
But
a
what you're
cat
saying is
and
absolutely
mouse
right, sir.
game. It's a
Yeah,
cat and mouse
absolutely.
game.
Ha.
I keep
Yes, yes,
increasing
yes.
the algorithm levels, complexity, and but post quantum encryption will be only for specific very high data. So, say banking transactions, or maybe say your OTP for transacting. That I can do post quantum. I can do that encryption. That is possible. So it has to be
Hmm.
limited. It cannot be for a bulk data. And generally, for your information, the any IP packet, there's a payload and there's a header. I always encrypt the payload, not the header. Header because
Yes,
otherwise the routing will be an issue. And payload
yes,
is huge, so I have to limit my payload. For small payloads, I can do the encryption.
yes.
Okay. So much for the cyber security and encryption. So we have touched satellite. We have touched. I think we should have more podcasts for your questions. The time may be limited.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Like one of the other things is that we are talking about the Indian position and the global leaders, so-called global leaders that are there, and
Okay.
in the space of 5G, and even sir, in this communications landscape, right? There is so much which has changed with the Ukraine-Russia war, where we have seen like electronic warfare operations going on with drone jamming and other things like that. So I think from what I have heard from my people is that generally we are also ahead in that, and we are very competitive. But I don't think we talk about it very much. I think, would that be a fair claim?
Okay, see, Ukraine, Russia, see, EW capabilities, we have got a very decent EW capability. I have served in Core of Signals, so I'm aware of what the capability we've got. And even if you see what happened in Sindoor, Op Sindoor, the network-centric warfare has been displayed, and EW keeps on going, right? You don't
Mm,
restrict the EW capabilities. Specific to Ukraine war, you'll be surprised and happy to know that they use the NTN network, the Starlink network, to control their robotic, uh, you know,
right.
uh, what should I say, soldiers they use against Russia. And there have been reports that they did not get the required data rate to manage it effectively. So
Mm,
things have NTN, they have come in the warfare today. So the emerging technologies like NTN, EW is always on. So what you do in
mm,
EW is basically, if I know the Chinese operate in this frequency band, in the area, the theater, not the theater, the tactical area. So there are two things. One is the theater, which is huge, and the battlefield, tactical battlefield is small. In that battlefield, what I can do is I can for some time sabotage or pulverize the network performance by transmitting a very high EMF of that frequency
mm, mm, mm,
or trying to
mm, mm,
replicate.
mm, mm,
Like, I'll tell you
mm,
something. We had an exposure with the IB. So in Tihar jail, they wanted the inmates not to get onto the network because they used to smuggle the phone. So what
mm, mm.
was done by the telcos is create a dummy, towers which will emulate a 5G station, but it will not get connected. So these are various warfare technologies which are already being used. Okay, if I talk of dummy, now it is already in the social net that Pakistan claims that it has, shot down so many, Rafales. But have they
Huh.
really done that, or were they dummies created by India? So
Yeah,
I'll
so
just
like
leave it to that.
it can
Yeah.
be like clones essentially.
Yeah. So my aircraft will emit the same signature or a similar signature
Yes.
of a actual device, but it may be a small drone, and the enemy will fire and drop down that
Ba-
UAV,
ba-
and they'll think
bas-
I have dropped in Rafale.
Basically, in the famous internet words, सिर्फ कौवे मारे और कुछ नहीं.
No, but for see, when I say electronic warfare, in my radar, in my electronic analysis, I have killed an aircraft, I've shot down an aircraft, or
Yes,
I've created it to my adversary. But in actual, it may be a totally different thing.
exactly.
See,
Like
if
you
if
create
I can,
you
yes.
create
So
the
in
impression
digital
that you have
domain,
achieved something extraordinary.
so I
Yes.
can create such dummies or such uh, things to attract the enemy, and enemy will be very happy I have done, and it may advertise
Okay.
that I have done, मैंने बहुत कर दिया, because they
बल्ले बल्ले.
don't know whether. But if it is an actual, you'll get some scrap of the aircraft. So all these things keep happening. The electronic warfare is always on. It has
Yes, sir.
never been left, and we have never been behind. Israelis are the pioneers of electronic warfare, and you will be happy to know that we have got a good collaboration with them, even our defense forces.
Oh, absolutely, sir. Like we have such long-standing
Pager
relationship
attack,
with
if I
them.
tell you, okay,
Huh.
just one thing.
Huh.
The pager attack, I written an article also in one of the telecom magazines.
Yes,
It
sir.
is a pure electronic warfare act. It is not a cyber security, cyber attack.
So
So
briefly, if you
what I have,
can tell our audience like what that was about, like just so that they understand, and it is like a
yeah, so
highlight
it
for
is
us.
it is very interesting. So what happens is, we all know that our handsets, like if my handset and if I am important government official or an army, top official or any official, even if I may be a soldier but dealing with some important office tactical where the national interest is paramount, our phone can be hacked. That's why even in army and any places we don't take our smartphones inside, because anybody, I can hack a phone in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, GHQ, and I can start the camera and I can start listening the voice in the microphone. So what was done by Israeli defense forces was they created uh, a fear in Hezbollah, that if you use the smartphones, it is very easy to be tracked. So stop
Hmm.
using these smartphones, and it is very vulnerable. So this was created in their minds, and they said, "What should we do?" They said, "Always you go back to the older technology, which is not hackable." And rightly
Hmm.
so, they suggested, "Let's use pagers."
Hmm.
So there were serious moles inside the Hezbollah's uh, hierarchy, and such people who are going to decide on the procurement, communication
Yes.
equipment
Yes.
procurement. So if I know, see the advantage of Israel forces are they think two steps ahead of what you may think. So they know if any defense equipment has to be procured, who is the guy who is going to procure the equipment? Who is the director? Who is the general? Who is the
They will buy that
person
person. Basically,
who
they will buy
decides?
that person.
No, he'll not buy. You put your mole in his office. You
Ah,
buy
okay.
people who, so you influence him, ki, sir, this is not the right way of going about. Let's go for pages. So they convince them, and
Ah,
rightly so. But so they gave an order of pager. What they did is they fabricated everything in such a way that they said that you use this specific pager, which was say manufactured in North Korea. In my article, I given the specific details also, and that North Korea or say South Korea, this pager will go through London, say UK, and then come to you. Now, what I do, I order, and it's a very prominent company pager. So you'll find nothing wrong in that. So that pager gets moved, transported on ship to UK, and in UK, I have got my team in the transportation team who take the pager, open it in a very professional way, insert a specific amount of what should I say
explosive material.
explosive with the detonator, which is electrically triggered. I'll tell you how it is done. Okay,
Hmm.
so I pack it and I give those say 1,000 or 2,000 whatever has been asked to the delivery location at Hezbollah's area, and I don't do anything. I let the confidence grow. You start using it for 6 months. Everybody's comfortable. Everybody's keeping the pager in his pocket or in the belt. That is how the pager is kept, and they're very confident, and rightly so, because pager works on a concept that there is a base station and you got these pagers, and there is, see, cyber security. When I say cyber or cyber attack, cyber means IP. It has to be a word which takes in IP packets. If it is not taking IP packets, I cannot attack it. In
Hmm.
your 2G phones, you never heard cyber attacks because it does
Hmm.
not work on IP. IP started
Hmm.
4G and above. So any
Hmm.
device which takes IP packets or which has a NIC card, the LAN card or LAN equipment, that is a cyber domain. The equipment becomes a cyber domain equipment. If I work on pager, I cannot attack you cyber attack because my IP packets
Correct.
will never
Correct.
reach
Correct.
you, right? So it was very safe. But what I have done is, if I they have pregnant into their entire communication departments, and there is a central tower, and there's a control system which starts sending the broadcast messages. If you remember pager, we used to get like SMS. We get broadcast SMS now from
Hmm.
various
Hmm. Hmm.
companies and say for the department DOT and such places. What if I let you use this for 6 months, and then one sudden predefined day I send a specific text message which will trigger the detonation device
Yes.
and explosive. So at
Yes.
say 23:15 hours at so and so date, whoever is getting that message, whichever pager is on, or whenever it gets on, it will get the message. And as
Yes.
soon as that SMS or text message comes to my device, pager device, that is a trigger for the detonator
Exactly.
to
Exactly.
explode the explosive,
Device.
and it triggers. So this is a total electronic warfare. I've seen various papers. This is cyber. This is not a cyber attack. It's an electronic warfare through an electronic device you created. So you have put an explosive inside an electronic device. So that's a
Sir,
beauty of this.
this is the stuff of legends, like one can only dream of having such long winded operations.
So
Like,
that's why
the
Mossad
kinds of
is so respected. That's why Mossad is so
ah
respected worldwide, because they
exactly
do.
like
You remember the Olympic, the attack on their athletes. They traced each and every, that guys who were involved with that, and they tracked and killed them. So they go for
hmm,
years into this, and this operation was not planned in months; it was planned in years. So they even
exactly.
how they killed the Iran, top-notch people and Hezbollah and Hamas people. So that is how they do. They they plan things and do it organized way in the time of their choosing. So that is how we are slowly graduating to, Israel's way of working.
Yes, like if anything, I will not say that we are doing this or not doing this. We can let people imagine, but like the unknown gunman phenomenon that is there, like one wonders, like if we are also graduating the top of our class in these areas, like who knows what's happening, but
So
it
we
sounds
had
very
a
impressive.
great network. Okay, just to add on this, we had a great network of raw operates outside our country and IBs for the internal security. So raw had great spies all around the world, and even in '71, there were very important role of raw. But over the years, I should not name the political parties. They have been compromised.
Hmm.
In various open forums, the uh, heads of the governments have given names to Pakistan that these are our spies. So that has
Very,
been
very
done. So
well
over
known
the
incident, like
yes, yes. So
viewers
we
and
will
I,
not make
everybody
it
will know what's
political.
going on.
Yeah. So
But
what had
we
happened?
know what's happened in the past.
So what happened is that last 10 to 15 years we have again started developing, and with our NSA, who is a great example for anybody, things are improving, and we are getting our network to the place, and all these incidents are not coincidence. The Bangladesh,
Hmm.
which where so many deaths are happening, and say US, even Canada. So somewhere forces which look for our patriotic uh, way of thinking, they are in hand. So not that defense forces are being involved, but yes, there are agents which are bought. There are people, spies, who are collaborating with people who are ready to do things for money. All these things keep happening in the
So,
West Asia and other
like, I
places.
think most of the times, most all these things will be contracted out to private individuals. I think that no rational
See,
person will want to put their life in
even
line.
this Canada case where this what is his name? I'm forgetting his name. Who was the Canada Prime Minister, created a lot of issue with India. What
Trudeau,
is that?
Former Prime Minister Trudeau.
Trudeau, so that Khalistani who was killed. Even in that case, there was a contractor who was called. So never the government organizations will deal directly. There will be multiple layers of people who will be, and the final person will not know why is he doing. And that happens everywhere
Essentially,
in
well,
any attack.
it's like old kahani na ki I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a
So
guy. Kya
yes,
aisa?
it's always a layered, architecture of, So all these
Exactly.
things, see, you cannot keep always be on the receiving end. So that
Yes.
is the time the government has to take a call whether we should also be aggressive. Like we are trying to change our
Exactly.
no first use nuclear policy. We are trying to change many things, in India. So we have to go with, and with so many adversaries, and we are going very growing economy. Everybody is very uncomfortable. The West and they're very uncomfortable with India's growth. Again, we yesterday we came to know we got 8.2 GDP growth. So, do you think they are very happy with our growth? They are not, and they will try and do everything. Delhi blast. If you say it is hands of Bangladesh, ISI, Pakistan,
Yeah.
but at the end is a CIA, right? Who wants to create
I mean,
problems in your country?
ultimately you have to see by any incident, like the question is to be asked who benefits, like who benefits
Yes.
when something like this happens. So
If
there are multiple
something
organizations
happens,
throughout the world who will benefit in the end. Like a weaker India means more power for the West and more things for them. So clearly, even if it is not a direct thing, even if there is plausible deniability, we have to safeguard our interest and act in our national interest. I think that's a perfectly
yes, yes.
valid position for us to have.
So we should be, happy and proud that our various important institutions in our country are, doing a fabulous job. Many things we come to know, many things we don't. But yes, we are not far behind. Even our satellite and space technology and cyber technology, they are, organizations, they are doing great job. But yes, we are still, you know, going slowly and gradually to the right place where we should be, we deserve to be.
Well, I think that's wonderful to hear, sir. Like, I think it's been a pleasure hosting you on the podcast today. We are coming on the hour now. I wouldn't want to take any more of your time, but it's really been awesome experience interacting with you today. So, hope to get you in the future once again. And
Sure, sure.
for that would be it from my side. You have any closing remarks, sir?
So thank you so much, and I wish that the viewers can, whatever discussion we have, they feel that specific, technologies or specific aspects or anything of communication and defense issues can be discussed, we can have a follow-up podcast. I'm
Yes,
open
sir.
to such,
Yes, sir. Okay, perfect, sir.
interactions.
And then I will also link sir's X handle if he has one on the description. Please feel free to follow him on
I'll
there.
say
Uh,
you can share my LinkedIn handle. I am purposely not on X till now, but yes, my
okay,
LinkedIn profile you can share, so
sure,
people will
sure,
come to
sure,
know
sir.
the amount of work.
Okay, perfect, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
have a great day, and
Yeah.
thanks so much.